Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So as you probably read in the title, mysteries, at least some of the mysteries are solved. And yeah, it was you guys that solved most of them. But before we get into that, I want to get into a couple other things real quick first. So a big Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Have a great Christmas and New Year's, and thanks for hanging out with us.
Merry Christmas.
I also want to say that this is our 1 year anniversary of doing YouTube today. So happy anniversary, I guess, to us. So I've done a bunch of things to this since you guys saw it a couple of weeks ago. And one thing was it was missing a bunch of its oil fill caps. So I've made a bunch of those up. Now, here's an original, and here's one that I made. I didn't go, to make them identical. I just I wanted something to protect it. I'm not going for, some kind of factory matching number restoration here. I just want it to work and work properly. So I just took a bit of an easy way out and just made something that was convenient to make at the time. So let's get into the mystery device. This was one of the biggest questions about this thing, and one of you viewers sent me a picture of one of these things fully assembled, showing exactly how the belt goes and the routing and how it's all supposed to work. And so what I'm going to do is get this thing fired up and get in there with some flashlights and the camera, really show you guys what's going on, and then we'll take a cut with this thing. So we're going to work our way over to the mystery device here, which is kind of not a mystery anymore, but we're going to start where it all starts for doing this job, and that's at the motor. Still no guards. I can't find any pictures of guards, belt guards, and there's no mounting holes. There's not a single unused hole anywhere on this thing. So I'm really wondering if it ever had guards. It may have. I haven't given up, but I'd like them to look decent, and I'm not going to start drilling new holes so for now it's got no guards. This handle engages power to a shaft that runs out the other end of the machine. Shaft comes all the way through underneath the machine, goes through this gear reduction here on a leather drive belt, goes into an actual gear reduction here, into this, I'm going to call it sort of a headstock. It's sort of like a lathe headstock a little bit, and I'll show you more of that later. And then you can see over here it drives what would be a lifter or even a valve. And now it used to have something here, I don't know what. I have a little bit in there for now because you need some sort of end stop on this thing for it to work at all. And so I'm using that for now, but I think I'll make something up that has a hardened steel ball in there eventually. So after the power comes through this headstock, goes into a worm gear that I think you should be able to see down in there. And then there's this large pulley over here. And then this is a spring-loaded idler right in here, and then it goes around these three drums over here. That supports and centers and drives the workpiece. So now we've got that going, and easy enough to fire up the grinding wheel. It's this belt runs continuously, but there's a clutch here which is currently disengaged, and so we're going to fire that up, get our grinding wheel going. Now we can advance into it. So I don't have this set up for anything in particular. This will do slight tapers, crowns. I didn't even dress the wheel. This is just how the thing showed up to me. And I can definitely tell it's grinding all off on the one side. So I'm creating a crown right now, and that's done through a little micrometer hand wheel down over here. And that's fine. I have no purpose at this second for doing anything to the end of this thing. I'm just showing you guys and checking it out myself for fun. So got it shut off now, and what I want to do now is pull the workpiece out of here, and it's just too easy. You just pull against that spring force, belt releases some, and there it is. Now when I had to disassemble this completely, make the belt, and then rebuild it around the belt. And when I was reassembling it, I got a little excessive with the oil when I was re-oiling all the parts, and that got on the belt. So I'm still battling with that a little bit. As you saw, it does work, but I've been degreasing this belt, and that's really helping a lot. So it'll get better as time goes, but as it is, it does in fact work. Put something in there, come back to the stop, and you're good to go. Mystery device solved, at least partially. So when you're done with this guy, it's pretty neat little feature here. This thing just comes off. Oh, and I do want to show you that little eccentric micrometer dial on the bottom of this. This is how you choose what angle or crown you're creating. And this just ever so slightly rotates this whole fixture on the table. Now I'm going to engage this travel hand wheel with the other, wish I knew what some of this was called, slide. This is a second slide. And now I'm able to move this using the same hand wheel I was using to move the other fixture. Now that I have this off, I can take anything on a Morse taper, number 1 Morse taper, number 2 Morse taper, plunk it in there. What? I was not expecting that.
Oh, it's not turning.
Yeah. I was not expecting that.
Huh.
Well, that's kind of neat. So what I was going to say to everybody was that I could put stuff in this chuck, run it against this wheel, and grind with it. But clearly, that's not how this works. I think what I could do is put a dead center in there. Is that ever weird? Hey?
Yeah, I thought it was going to spin.
Oh, heck yeah. Can you just put a finger there? Thanks. So now I've got that disconnected, and there's another, well, it's not actually disconnected. I'm just not currently using it for anything. It doesn't actually spin a chuck, but you could put dead centers in here and a drive dog, and you could run parts between centers. It doesn't currently have much of a tailstock, but that'd be easy enough to fix. It's got this thing which has a decent bit of travel, and I'm sure by getting just a wee bit creative, you could get more travel than that with a little homemade tailstock. But now I want to show you guys this thing. It was also missing its belt when we got it. And so I got some, we used a skipping rope last time. I've got some proper belt material in there now that we had to order. And it's interesting because when I did the last video, I just put the belt on the way it looked like it would work without anything rubbing on anything else, and it seemed, you know, happy enough. But one of you guys sent me a video of someone with a quite similar machine, and it was routed all together differently. And so I started out, when I put the belt on, trying it that way, and I just could not get it to make sense. I just couldn't believe in it, just couldn't do it. So I went back to this, my old method of routing the belt, and it's a bit tricky because this thing rotates and the belt comes from way over here, so it has to make these corners in there no problem. And then it also travels back and forth, and the belt also has to accommodate rotating at every different position of back and forth. So there's quite a bit going on down there, and I'll show you guys in just a minute. But first I'm going to set up to grind a little taper on this guy. This chuck's kind of neat. It has 3 balls here, equally spaced on a bolt circle, and it has 3 balls here. And those 2 groups of 3 balls come in and center your workpiece. Now before we get going on the grinding, I want to show you guys that belt in action. So as you see, all those pulleys and mechanisms in there allow for this thing to rotate as well as travel in both directions without anything getting caught up and interfering too much. Hope you can see this, but in the video that I just had there, these weren't self-aligning super great. And I'm not sure if that's a more of a dialing in thing, a tinkering thing to really get these to track properly. Now there is sort of a little guide in part here that's smooth, and I'm not getting any flaying off these belts. There's no belt powder anywhere. So I think the little bit that the belt is rubbing on those is probably okay. But in my mind, in my perfect world imagination, these would just perfectly self-align as you did everything else, you know, with this machine. So I'm going to keep playing with that, but for now it's working and I don't see any damage to the belt. Now I'm going to just lock this rotation down somewhere that's not anywhere in particular. Again, just a demonstration. We're not actually hoping to accomplish anything here. Plug her in. Fire up the spindles. Fire up the wheel. So this thing was not made to advance the workpiece into the grinding wheel using this handle. This is way too coarse a movement. That would be a violent touch off, and incremental infeeds would be violent. So again, just to demonstrate, I'm going to set this position, which is how you would do this, and then I'm going to advance in with the proper hand wheel that gives me my fine micrometer feed. And I'm just going to touch the corner. If you were using this thing as intended, there'd be a valve in here. And you'd be wanting to grind this surface of the valve over here. And so you'd be infeeding the valve this way with this fine hand wheel and engaging in this direction. I pulled this belt cover off just to show you guys the belt that we chose, and actually this is the spot where we welded it together. They call it welding together, and they recommend you use a soldering iron with one of those flat spade type tips and just get both ends melted, stick them together, and then trim it off. And it took me 2 tries. I don't think I got it quite hot enough on the first try, and on the second try it's holding up like a champ. I had no idea what the proper diameter of belt was, but I knew I wanted something that engaged with the sides of the pulleys and certainly did not sit down in the bottom. And this does that nicely in all the pulleys. And also I had a choice between a rough and coarse texture belt. Had no idea what would be best, so I went with the rough. And seems to be working. Again, no idea if that's the way to go. The proper belt for this machine. Well, I think the proper belt for this machine was made out of leather, so there's probably nothing on the books about what I should have used in there. But this is a polyurethane belt, and it's recommended for being a drive belt, and that seems to be working well. For all the flat belts, I used just old ratchet tie-down straps and then overlapped them and sewed them together. The overlaps don't seem to harm anything. Nothing in here seems to notice. I've done that with this belt that I made, and also if you look down this end of the machine, I've done the same with both of these belts. Just sewed together some old pieces of ratchet tie-down strap and got the lengths, you know, figured out ahead of time, of course. And all that seems to be working great. Actually, this old belt was a little, it's kind of funny. It's hard in places and soft in places, and I found the machine was just jumping around a lot more when I had that on. So I am, for now, happier with this belt. Well, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks to all our subscribers, and thanks an awful lot to all of our super thanks people. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.